Hey everybody, welcome to Rooted Group's week number 3. We have been growing together, meeting together, conversing together, praying together as we have been seeking a rooted future for our church. Now we've been talking about the church that Jesus is building, a church that is rooted and established in His kingdom with Jesus as King of our hearts. We've been talking about being the church that's rooted in love. And all of this is kind of laying the foundation for where we see the church, Slow City Church, going. In just a few weeks, on a Sunday morning, March 1st, we're going to host a Commitment Sunday, where we're going to ask you to prayerfully consider making a sacrificial, one-time and ongoing gift to help root us and establish us in this city that will be a church for the city for generations to come. And these weeks have really been laying out not necessarily the building plans and structures, but the kind of church that we want to be, because we're seeking to raise $8 million. That's the big ask. That collectively we pull together and we see and believe in the kind of church that Jesus is building, and we want to follow Him. And in seasons like this, where we're chasing after something, we're casting a vision, and we're pursuing, leaning into the church that Jesus wants to invite us into. I don't know if you felt some pulls at your heart, or some tensions, or maybe some oppression, or some tweaks when we talk about money, when we talk about giving, when we talk about buildings, when we talk about plans. All these things can kind of can expose some things in us. I mean, look around the world right now. Everything is a little bit divisive. Everything is pulling us apart. And this is a scheme, if you will, a plan of the enemy, of the accuser, of the Satan. The first time we interact with these oppositional pulls and tensions and forces is in the book of Genesis, when the Satan comes and whispers into the ear of mankind and says, "Did God really say? Can you really trust Him?" And time again, all throughout the scriptures, we see the plans, the schemes, the pulls, the tensions of the enemy saying, can you really trust God? Does He really want you to be generous? Does He really want you to be loving? Shouldn't you be a little bit selfish? Shouldn't you hold something back? And all throughout the world and all throughout our relationships, we feel these pulls and pressures. Peter says in the book of 1 Peter that the devil is like a prowling lion seeking someone to devour, someone to pull apart, to distract, to divide, to breed discouragement and despair. This is what Satan is after, to pull you apart. Jesus says to Peter himself, "Peter, Satan has asked to sift you like wheat, to pull you apart piece by piece." And this is the prevailing scheme of the enemy, especially in terms of the church. If the accuser can breed disunity in us, he has us right where he wants us. So I find it interesting that Jesus' last prayer before going to the cross was not necessarily for His own protection or safety or comfort. It wasn't at all. It was for our unity. In John chapter 17, Jesus prays, "Father, I'm about to leave. I'm about to depart. You've given me your glory. You've protected me. You've led me. I've shared your word with those. Will you make them one? Will you lead them to unity?" Because He knew the forces of this world, the forces in us, the forces of the enemy are seeking to sift us, to pull us apart, to distract us, divide us, devour us like a roaring, prowling lion. So Jesus prays for you, that you and I would be unified, would be together. Now, He doesn't pray for uniformity. He doesn't say, I want everybody to look alike, dress alike, talk alike, listen to the same music. But He does pray for unity. See, unity is not uniformity. It is not necessarily sameness, but it is you and I choosing to stand shoulder to shoulder under the name above every name, the name of Jesus. Have you ever gone to a stadium, a sports stadium somewhere, and maybe you have a favorite team? My favorite team growing up was the Kentucky Wildcats. It's probably discussed way too much. But when I walk into a basketball game, I've got Kentucky on my chest. I've got a Kentucky hat. And when I walk into a gym, maybe in an away game where Kentucky is playing in Las Vegas or something, because I can't really get to Kentucky anymore, I walk in and where do I look? Where do I sit? I look for people who are wearing Kentucky on their chest. Why? Because I can yell, I can cheer, I can boo the opponent, and I'm safe with people under the name of Kentucky. Now again, that illustration breaks down when talking about being unified in the church. But Jesus prays for us in John chapter 17 that, Holy Father, protect them by your name. I have shared their name with you. They are under the banner of the name above every name. And we see that you and I can find unity under the name of Jesus. And that name trumps any smaller name that we could ever wear on our chest. Any college sports team, any political party, any preference, any kind of music we listen to, the color of our skin, the ethnicity, the country of origin we're from. Like it unifies every name, Jesus. Every name is trumped by your name, and we find unity under the name of Christ. I love, this past Sunday we talked about Billy Graham a little bit, and that famous line that he made famous, the ground is level at the foot of the cross. We also find unity in joy. Joy found at the foot of the cross. No matter your socioeconomic status, no matter how much money you make or don't make, you're rich or poor, you're from this part of town or that part of town, we find common ground and unity at the foot of the cross because you and I are each sinners saved by grace. And this past Sunday, we talked about the reality that you and I find unity as we are sanctified and grown in the truth. That's a prayer that Jesus prays for us, that we would be unified under the name above every name, that we would be unified at the cross by a collective joy we encounter at the foot of the cross, and we find unity as we are sanctified and grown by the work of the Spirit. And all of this, Jesus says, that world that is pulled apart by the schemes of the enemy, divided into tribalism by the schemes of the enemy, that world that is being sifted like wheat is gonna see the goodness and grace of God on display in and through the church by their unity, by their love for one another, by their togetherness. Now, there's a lot of questions that we're gonna walk through tonight. And there's a lot to talk through, there's a lot to chew on, but I just want to press you. Like, I want to ask you maybe to even consider, what name do you wear on your chest? What is the name above every name that you wear on the top of your head? What is the name? Is it Jesus? Jesus unifies us and he leads us to unity. And he says, he prays that the world would see his goodness and his grace through a church that is unified. So how can we be a together people, centered and rooted in Jesus, growing more like him? I pray for your conversations tonight, that this maybe sparked some imagination in you, or maybe you heard something that you want to just talk about more, maybe some ways that you're seeing disunity in the church and how we can grow towards one another, towards God as we are one in him. Have a great group. Peace.